This week in 2011, a Peter Crouch goal at the San Siro put our club within touching distance of a Champions League quarter-final place. 5 years later, and a Christian Eriksen goal in Manchester has put Spurs within touching distance of a return to European football's top table. And maybe, just maybe, something even greater. This is your very excited e-Spurs podcast.
Come on, you Spurs! Come on, you Spurs! Come on, you Spurs! Come on, you Spurs! Tottenham, no one can stop.
Hi everyone, welcome to the e-Spurs podcast. Few hangovers out there, no doubt. Let us know on the Twitter and Facebook if you're still suffering from the sore throats and hangovers of yesterday's celebrations. I know a few of the e-Spurs team are currently. We're back for your weekly fix of THFC chat and debate. Don't forget, guys, we want you to get involved and stay in touch with the show. So if you like what you hear, there's loads and loads of ways to stay in touch with all things e-Spurs. We are, of course, on Twitter at e_Spurs, on Facebook, e-Spurs page, all one word. And new for this season, you can follow us on Google Plus and YouTube. For all links to e-Spurs platforms, just go to our website, guys. That's www.espurs.blogspot.co.uk. Tonight on the e-Spurs podcast, as we peel ourselves off the ceiling and try to remain calm amidst all the talk of titles and top fours, we'll relive one of the most important victories by any Spurs side, I think it's fair to say, of the last few years. We'll get your feedback on this week's e-Spurs talking point, discuss the latest stadium rumours, and we'll preview the first of 12 remaining crucial, massive league games at the Lane against Swansea this coming weekend, and of course our European trip on Thursday night. But without further ado, before we get into the Spurs chat, let's introduce our very own three up front. It's Jason, John and Ricky. How you doing, fellas?
Not too bad, mate.
Rough. I'm still here. I've survived it.
Listen, we've got Ricky locked in a cupboard at the moment. That was the only way we could contain Ricky before his slot on the podcast. John's currently suffering from a sore throat, the effects of yesterday. And Jace, how's things over there, mate?
I don't know. It's been a big blur since yesterday, mate. I haven't, got home about 6:30 in the morning and then watched about 15 reruns just to make sure it was the right result.
Listen, I mean, what a day. What a weekend. We spoke on the podcast last weekend about our hopes for the game yesterday. I don't know if any of us truly believed in our hearts of hearts that we'd go up there and get a result. But what a performance by the side. We've all been speaking about it off air just a moment ago, still caught up in the magic of yesterday. Unbelievable game, unbelievable performance by our lads. What a day. And welcome to the podcast. Before we kick off with the Spurs chat, guys, I just want to go over a few reminders for everybody listening out there. Don't forget you can get a second dose of the e-Spurs podcast each and every week now. That's our new extra time show. It contains all of the bits we couldn't squeeze into the main podcast. So catch our main podcast, usually out on Monday and Tuesday, and our new extra time show, usually about 15 minutes long. That'll now be out every Thursday. So you've got 2 doses of the e-Spurs podcast. If you enjoy the podcast, of course, as we always say, we'd really appreciate it, guys, if you could head over to our iTunes page, leave a review on there, let us know what you think, let everybody know what you think of the show, and we'd really, really appreciate that. Okay, so here we go. Let's let Ricky out of his cupboard. Let's talk about the game. Manchester City at the weekend. Before we go into detail on the game, I just want to go across the ball from our lads. One word answer if we can, please, lads. Penalty or no penalty? Jace?
Yes, because he gave it.
Yes, because he gave it. I like it. John?
Yes, because he gave it.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't, but I'll explain why it was later.
Fair enough. Fair dues. And Rick?
I'd say it was lucky, but in football you make your own luck. So take it as you are.
We've been wronged enough, haven't we, Rick?
Exactly.
That, at least.
Let's take all the luck we can get. We've waited so long for this. Let's take it.
And it was also nice, wasn't it, just on a side thought, to see Thierry Henry's face after the game, gloating straight after the Arsenal game, then to see his face after the Spurs. What a picture, eh? Worth it just for that. Lads, they often say, don't they, when Spurs have a spot of bad luck, that it's Spursy. Now, I don't know if there's a word for Arsenal and the type of luck they have, but they certainly had it, didn't they, on Saturday with their last-minute goal. We shouldn't be surprised, should we, with that lot down the road. But then, as I say, we went and wiped that smile straight off the Gooner's face with a fantastic win at the Emirates Stadium. In my eyes, of course, fairly biased to say the least, but a much more impressive win than that of Arsenal's. First of all, away from home, and then the pressure that was on that game, us being second, I think just made it a much more difficult game, and the lads all did us proud out there. Let's go to the guys, shall we? I'm going to stop rambling. Jace, your thoughts on the win against Man City? What a victory!
Well, the first thing was when I woke up here, I see messages on Twitter of feeling a bit nervous and things like that, and I'm thinking, people in England are quite lucky because you wake up and there's about 8 hours to kick off. But when it's an 11 o'clock at night kick off here and you wake up, you think I've got about 17 hours to kick off. So the old tummy rumble was a bit longer over here.
Oh.
But no, it was a magnificent win. To I think what was really impressive was just how few chances that clear-cut chances that Manchester City had, just how little work Hugo had to do overall. I think, that whilst they're maybe not the fluent Man City of previous years, when you got Aguero and Silva and Toure, they're still a fantastic side going forward. And so to defend as we did, and the whole back four, and then the unit in front of them, Dembele, Dyer. And, just for once, it wasn't down to Dele Alli to win. So absolutely brilliant win. Absolutely brilliant.
Certainly was. And you make a great point there, Jace, about it being a team effort. And that's what struck home to me yesterday, especially. There wasn't maybe one or two standout performances, but the team performance in terms of controlling the game, John, it was just a picture, wasn't it? And when you go to the Etihad and you stop Man City from getting the ball, you keep players like Aguero and Silva as quiet as we did yesterday, that really sends a signal, doesn't it?
Well, it does, and especially if you consider, when we smashed them at home this season, there was all the, I suppose, excuses that Hart wasn't playing and Company wasn't playing and Silva wasn't there. But this time we done them with their first choice 11, which was, well, apart from De Bruyne, I'd say. But that was what made it all the more impressive for me, because I must admit, when I seen the team sheet, I was like, oh Christ, and I was a little bit worried. And for a time there, I predicted a 1-1 draw, and even when it was 1-1, I was quite happy to get a prediction right. But in the end, I was so happy to get one wrong. It was one of them afternoons where you've got to say it's season-defining potentially, because these are the kind of games that, if you are going to win the league or get anywhere near winning the league, you've got to win. And it's just 7 wins on the trot now in all competitions. It's just an amazing run we're on at the minute. Absolutely loving it. And if I could just go back to what I said about when you asked if it was a penalty, all I would say was, if Raheem Sterling had Danny Rose's bottle and heart and didn't turn his back, blocked it with his face or his chest like Rose did earlier, then the referee wouldn't have had a decision to make, and therefore it wouldn't have mattered.
Do you know what? You're spot on, John. Yeah, I actually think that he did have his arms slightly out anyway. He threw his back towards the ball, or that area of his back towards the ball, with his arm slightly raised. I think it did hit the underside of his arm. And I think, I think people are clutching at straws, really, trying to deny us our glorious penalty at Man City. And
well, to be fair, you heard the Man City fans shouting Fran ball when Rose bravely blocked it with his midriff, and that's what I just kept thinking. All right, it was harsh. Let's be honest. And Pellegrini brought up in the interview after, didn't he, that we had a couple of dodgy ones at the Lane this season, but then so did they. So we still would have won that game 2-0 if my maths is correct.
Yeah.
But yesterday was one of them where, honestly, that for me, that's what it come down to. You've got a group of players who I don't know whether it's just because they believe in the manager or what, but they just seem to they love playing for the shirt. They play like, we keep saying you want players to play like a fan would play, and I think Danny Rose, especially out of everyone, he epitomised everything about it yesterday. And with City, like even if you just take their goal celebration, Iheanacho celebrated on his own. I don't know if anyone else noticed that.
Yeah.
And I just thought, this is just not normal. When you see when we score, everyone but Hugo's up there celebrating with them, and it's just a team who are willing to put their body on the line against a group of individuals who are a bit prima donna-ish, don't want to get their hair mucked up or whatever, take a ball in the face, and I think that's what it came down to yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. More than just a penalty, wasn't there? There's a great team performance in there, and every single player to a man, I think, worked their socks off yesterday.
Well, there was one, I don't know whether you guys, you must have seen it, but there was one bit of the game which it almost had me welling up with pride. It was a beautiful moment. It was just after Toure at the bar with his free kick. And when the ball came out to Sterling on the edge of the box, 3 of our players crowded Sterling out. Ali and Kane tripped each other up, but it was just the fact that there was 3 of them.
Yeah.
All running after that ball, won it back straight away. That kind of commitment, I just love watching this team at the moment. And that few seconds there just summed up exactly what's going on at Tottenham.
Yeah, absolutely. You could probably tell John's excitement by the tone of his voice at present, or lack thereof. Brilliant day. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I know a few of you on social media have been waiting for this. Let's let him out of his cupboard. Mr. Ricky Sachs, fairly good game yesterday.
Wow. Just wow. I am trying to keep myself composed here. But I have to say, if we've got 12 more games left like that, I don't think I'm going to survive it. I really have to say. Where do I start? What do I say? I don't think I've actually come down yet. I'm still on cloud 9 from the result because I just can't fathom it. I'm looking at the league and I still can't believe we are where we are. If I have to go through every single player, then I could do. But just to kind of just go through the team in general. Firstly, I don't think that was one of our best performances of the season. But that just shows you how far we've come as a team, as a squad, as a club, that we go away to a title rival, don't have to actually play to our best and still come away with all 3 points. I mean, if you just go from Hugo at the back, that match-winning, that save at the end, it's match-winning, isn't it? You compare that to Eriksen's goal, it's just as important. I don't know how he got a hand to it, but he did. Then you look at Kevin Wimmer. Wimmer's been in the team for 2 to 3 games. You look at it and you just think to yourself, this guy looks like he's been in the team all season. It's just so calm, so composed, looks like an understudy to Vertonghen. And then you got Toby next to him. For me, he's on par with Dele Alli as being our signing of the season. I don't think I've seen such a more comfortable Spurs back four in years. And that's along with the fact of being able to rotate that, bringing in Trippier, bringing in Davis. It's just, you just feel so calm and so relaxed watching that back four because all of them know their job. They all know what they have to do. We're playing out from the back. Danny Rose yesterday, for me, one of his best games in a Spurs shirt. Just continual bombardment down their left flank and they could not handle him. He was just absolutely fantastic. Eriksen and Lamela, both of them have had their criticisms this season in terms of dipping at certain times. Eriksen's popped up with a goal that could arguably turn out to be one of the most important goals ever for Spurs in their history, depending on the next 12 games, and not trying to get carried away, which I'm trying not to. And then Lamela, we've said the last few weeks, it looks like he's gone quiet. He's come on, and in the space of a couple of minutes, he's changed the game on its head. He's burst right through the middle of the City midfield, and he's played that pass into Eriksen for the goal. That quality. Listen, we paid 30 million for him. Lamela up front. How important, how much money could that goal be worth?
Do you know what, Rick? I actually sat there at the time when the substitution happened and I thought, oh, crikey, I think Poch has made a bit of a boo-boo here, bringing Lamela on. And, I think at the time the team weren't playing too badly. But again, just goes to prove...
Subs called right, Andy. You just showed you subs called right. You look at that again, such a difficult decision to make. At 1-1, what do you do?
Yeah.
Do you sit back? Do you take a point? Or do you know what? Say, do you know what? We're going to go for this. It's the most open Premier League for years. Why don't we just go for it? And that's what he's done. At the start of the season, we all said he's a little bit stubborn. He likes to stick to an 11. He'll only make certain changes if he feels he needs to. But he's just rolled the dice yesterday and the numbers have come up. And Lamela's come on and scored. And Kane yesterday, we've even said last week's show, Kane was very quiet. I thought Kane did have a quiet game yesterday. But talk about nerves of steel for a penalty. You look at that. Listen, this game here, make no doubt about it, that was the most, like John, I think, just said, season-defining game. Probably he's not going to score, listen, I hope he does score a more important goal than that in his Spurs career. But the nerves of steel for that penalty, to put it away against Joe Hart, who's not got a bad record of saving them. Just absolute nerves of steel. And I think also we need to make a point that City have never lost a game when Aguero, Silva, Torre, company have all started together this season, and that record is out the window. And can I just finish on one more point? Sol Campbell, during the week, turned around and said, this Spurs team have got no leaders. Well, let me tell you what, all I saw yesterday was Spurs, the whole Spurs team leading each other. Listen, we don't need leaders if you've got a team like that. This squad is just so special. I don't want to wake up. I just keep pinching myself because I'm looking at it thinking there's 12 games left. I know we've got to try and remain grounded. I know we've got in those games Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, United. I turned around to you last week and said we're going to go there and win 2-1. We've won 2-1. Let's enjoy it. Let's live for the moment. It's just such a wonderful time to be a Spurs fan. And just that bit at the end yesterday, I know so many people have seen it on social media.
Emotion,
But
Rick.
but Poch hugging every single player in front of the fans. Oh, it was Spurs porn. Spurs porn. It was just unbelievable. Just don't want to wake up from this moment. My only fear is that I just don't want to wake up. Such a fantastic moment to be a Spurs fan. Long, 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 long. It may continue to the end.
Amen to that. And we'll keep Ricky out of his cupboard for a little while. Sure, we'll let him stay out and live the moment. Jace, great managers have been quoted quite often in the past, haven't they, in saying it's not necessarily about having the best individuals. It's about having the best team. And I don't think, even the most honest Spurs fan, I don't think any of us would deny that man for man, Man City have probably got more world-class players in their side. But that doesn't necessarily guarantee success. And are we seeing now, do you think, evidence of that, of the fact that it's about the team rather than individuals?
I think it has been all season.
Yeah.
About the team. And I think, whilst we've had standout performers, I think looking back over the season, there'd be a lot of different man of the match awards given to our players. Like we said, Wimmer's come in, done the thing yesterday. Eric Dyer, the first few months of the season, he was outstanding week in, week out. And then we started to focus on how well Toby's defended. And then a few games after that, we were constantly talking about Dele Alli. So I think that tells you everything. And then you've even last week we had Trippier coming in and scores. So, right the way through the season, we've had standout performers at various times. And I think that's what you do need to do if you're going to be successful. It can't be about one or two players, maybe like it has been in the past.
And it's so nice to see them stepping up, isn't it? Trippier has done a fantastic job to such an extent now that you sort of, many people see him as our best right back. Davies has come in and done an amazing job. Rose has been out of the team a couple of weeks and then comes in and produces a performance like that. And it can only be, you can only think that it can be what we've mentioned on the podcast constantly, in that competition that Poch has introduced now for places, that hunger.
I mean, even John's brain fart, man.
Kyle Walker.
But he's probably now the number one boo boy target. I mean, he doesn't get slated like others in the past, but usually if there's anyone now that people get on the back of in a game, it will be Walker. I thought Walker was brilliant yesterday.
Yeah.
And, for me, he is our best fullback when he plays well. I think that's always the thing. You're not quite sure when he's going to when his next brain fart moment's going to come. But for me, of the four, when Walker's at his, I think if all four are playing at their very best, then Walker's our best defender of the four of them.
It's going to be interesting in the coming weeks, John, isn't it? Because we constantly hear from the likes of Pochettino and the players that they're not thinking about the title, that they're not getting carried away. How hard is it now going to be for them? They're now not under the radar, are they? They're now right in the limelight, if you like. To some, they're even the favourites for the title. How hard is it going to be now for the players and Pochettino not to get carried away and to remain focused?
I mean, to be fair, for the players, this morning they're probably thinking, right, I've got to pack my bag ready for Florence on Thursday. So they've got the sort of distraction that a fan hasn't. You know what I mean? So maybe, and the games are coming thick and fast. Obviously, we've got 3 cup games before we play again in the league. So that probably helps them in that sense. They've got things to concentrate on immediately. Whereas if too many of them are sitting back and looking at the table like we all are and analysing everything and we're going to take 1 point from that game, we'll get 3 points from that game. If they start doing that, then I think we could be in trouble. But I don't know. They're just like such a professional outfit at the minute. I don't think that Poch would allow that, to be honest. And I'm not worried about that, to tell you the truth. I think there's been so many things that have gone our way this season, and not by accident. Even recently, we're like we said, 7 wins on the trot in all competitions. But things are happening and have been happening recently, which don't generally happen to us. And I think that, if you look at it, like in the last 4 games, we've had 3 subs who have come on. Chadley came on against Palace and scored. Ali came on against Watford, got an assist. Lamela done the same yesterday. Things like that do not happen to Tottenham. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's such a change of everything. It's a mental thing, clearly, because we've always had talented players, but now everything seems to have clicked. And I don't want there to be something as simple as them getting carried away, which ultimately means we fail. But just can't see that still at the minute. As long as everyone remains injury free, then we'll be all right. Well, mind you, even saying that, with like the boys have touched on, Kevin Wimmer has been a revelation for me. And this is, I read a stat yesterday. It's the first time in 9 seasons that a Tottenham centre half pairing have played at least 20 games together, started 20 games together. Christ. Since King and Dawson. I think it was 2006-07 season.
Unbelievable.
So yeah, when you look at it like that, I tell you what worries me the more. Not even about the league table. I tell you what worries me. I'm 30 years old, right? So I lived throughout the 90s, getting trounced by Arsenal every time we played them, finishing below them every single year. And maybe all of that pain, year after year, was worth it because eventually some greater being somewhere knew that don't worry, because the next time you finish above them, you'll be first and they'll finish second. I hope none of the players listen to me talking shit, because then that might affect them. But I keep thinking stuff like that now, and it's really worrying me. You're gonna have to lock me in Ricky's cupboard, Rick.
What?
Make me space, mate.
Come on, join it. Come in.
We're running out of room in this. I don't know how big this cupboard is, but we're running out of room. I don't know about you lads, but do you find that you're constantly? I found that today, just constantly going over different scenarios, looking at the fixtures, thinking, right, if we win that, if that team loses that, right, we could finish here. That's the lowest we could finish. That's the high. I don't know about the players, but the pressure's on us. I'm feeling it. So I don't know how they must.
All I keep thinking, I don't know about you lot. The thing is, right now we've got a 10-point cushion on Man United. So I'd like to think that we will be in the Champions League next season, whatever happens from here on in. And I just keep thinking, right, if that's the worst that happens this season, and we've had a blinding season, so don't let anything else get you down. If we don't win the league, or we don't, because I'd actually prefer, I know it sounds strange, but if we're not going to win the league, I don't want to finish second, because you're just full of regret all summer.
Yeah.
Maybe finish fourth then, or third, because you don't have to qualify, do you? So we'll say we'll finish third if we don't finish first, because I think finishing second would be horrible, like it was for Liverpool a couple of years ago, and they've not really recovered from that yet. I don't want it happening to us.
You know what? It's a great shout. And there's just looking at, you mentioned some stats there, John. Also, another stat I picked up on: most chances created this season, 108 chances we've created. It's strange, isn't it? Because at times it doesn't feel like we're creating. It feels as if we're passing it around in midfield for eons. But it just shows they're creating the chances. And we can afford, as Jace said, for a player to have a quiet game, because there's 10 others out there that will come in and step up and take their place. And it's just fantastic to witness.
Can I just say, you just made a great point there, Andy. Jamie Carragher was on, I'm not sure if anyone listened to him yesterday, but he made a great point, I think, which is value, which we've said for week upon week now, is that Spurs, you look at the players in the starting 11 every week, a lot of them, majority, 7 or 8 out of 10 performances every week. We're used to seeing it. I don't think other pundits have been, obviously don't watch Spurs as we do. We watch them for a full 90 minutes, 38 games a season. What we've seen so far this season is just something complete. It's not norm, is it? To see every team that Spurs have put out this season, it's 7 to 8 out of 10 performances every single week. I can't remember being a Spurs fan feeling this way about a side. And like John just said there, it's 7 straight wins since Leicester. You look at it, and the way things stand now, we've got that 10-point gap to Man United. We're hopefully now going to have Champions League football in our last season at White Hart Lane before it's redeveloped. I mean, even that is going to be so special. But you're looking at it now and you're thinking to yourselves, well, listen, we've got a 4-point gap now of City. If you consider maybe the inferior goal difference as well, you're looking at thinking we're just never going to get a better chance than this. And that is what is driving me insane. I completely get John's point that we should be, thankful if we get Champions League football. But I've said it before, you look at next season, I still believe Man United are going to change their manager. I can't see Van Gaal being there. Liverpool are going to be in the second season with Klopp. City are going to get Guardiola. I just don't see Spurs. I just don't see that we're ever going to get a better chance than this. And that's why I think we've got to take it. I hope, like John said, the players aren't listening, because for them, they don't need this distraction. For them, all they need to do is concentrate on the field matters. But for us as fans, if you can't dream now, then when can you? I just don't know any other Tottenham team in my lifetime supporting them where you get a lucky penalty away from home at a title rival, you win the game, and you're sitting there thinking, this isn't my team. This does not happen to Spurs. Like, you speak to fans, you look at it now, best goal difference, best defence in the league, youngest average age squad, late goals. This does not happen to Spurs. So if you're not going to believe now, when can you believe? When can you believe?
Absolutely. And you're almost frightened to believe, aren't you, to a certain extent, because of what we've all been through in the past. And it's having that belief, and I think that'll be the players more than anything that will have to have that belief. And I think we've got the right bloke in charge to do that if that's the case. Because
well, Andy, if you look at our team from yesterday,
yeah,
I'd say there's probably 5 or 6 of them that have played lower league football in this country.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not. Maybe I'm talking crap, but maybe that makes a difference in terms of how much they want this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they have had to drop down and start at a lower level. They're not like teenage prodigies that have moved for 49 million quid, and they're not big expensive players that have been at Barcelona and wherever else. They're young kids that have served their apprenticeship, if you like, in football, and now they're reaping the rewards of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe we are very different. I mean, Leicester are the same in that sense as well, because some of their players were with them in the Championship, but a lot of our lads have they've been battered up beaten up by big hairy men from Leyton Orient on a Saturday when and maybe that makes a difference in the long run. You know what I mean? Maybe that's why people like Danny Rose are willing to jump and put their body on the line like he did yesterday, and maybe Sterling isn't. Maybe it comes down to little things like that. Could go a long, long way this season.
Absolutely. I do also think, John, that Pochettino has to play a major factor in that, because this is the same Danny Rose physically that we had last season, the season before, that could be a bit flaky at times, a bit like Kyle Walker. But that performance yesterday, I don't think I'm exaggerating here. When I truly believe that's one of the best fullback performances I've seen from a Spurs fullback. Goodness.
Amen.
Goodness.
Amen.
Without doubt, mate. Spot on.
Absolutely fantastic. And brilliant to see. Lads, we asked social media what they thought of the game and their reaction after the game, especially, and their reaction when Eriksen scored. We had some really good responses come into us. Antoine from Belfort in France says, I screamed in front of my PC. I couldn't believe it at first, and I'm still very excited of the result now. Ricky Young says, sitting on my couch here in Arkansas, I screamed right up there with Ali's goal, but for a different reason. THFC Vapester says, a place in Voss in Norway. Just a great time here in the Winter Village supporting Spurs. Some really good responses we've had. Alexandria in Egypt says, I think I was the only one screaming in Egypt after the goal. Well, keep flying the flag, mate. You're doing a great job. And Zoe Pearson says, I was at home, woke my dad up who had fallen asleep, cried out of sheer joy, and my dad, who doesn't even like football, welled up too. And do you know what, lads? I actually, not ashamed to say this, I actually felt myself welling up there at the final whistle, seeing the celebrations and seeing my dad sitting in front of me. My dad doesn't listen to this one, but seeing my dad sitting in front of me and similar to what Ricky says, the stories you hear of the 60s, the trophy winning times, and just thinking, maybe, because again, I go back to what I said in last week's podcast. I don't think any of us truly thought, if we put our hand on our hearts, that in our lifetime we'd see Spurs win the league, because football has changed so much. And it's now not a reality, but it's possible, and even possible. Crikey!
Do you know what, Andy? Very quickly, I think the problem is we've bbeen tarnished with Lasagna Gate and Chelsea with the Champions League. All that's happening, like you've said. I think we're in a position now where we're fearful to believe this can actually happen to a club like Spurs. We're fearful as fans that we've been so scolded in the past what's happened to us that we genuinely can't believe this could happen to Spurs. And in our minds, we're telling ourselves we can't do it.
Yeah.
But these players are doing the opposite.
Well, we've got to tell ourselves we can't do it, because
we can't allow ourselves to think we can.
Yeah.
But these players are doing the impossible, what we thought was but it's beyond any sense of belief. And that's why after the game, you do get that mass hysteria on social media where no one can quite put into words the feeling. I mean, even tonight, I'm struggling on a podcast to put into words how I'm feeling about the way things are right now, because you said it yourself. For me, my family, being raised, by, my dad loved Spurs. He's brought it down to me and my brothers for us to watch the game all together. And that emotion, to be alive, to be able to witness this, it's like a privilege. And because we're that close now, You don't want to do it to yourself, but we are so close, 12 games away, and we know realistically, if we win all of our games, I know that's a ridiculous statement to try and make, but if we do win all of our games, then we can be champions. We can be champions. And Leicester, for me, as good as Leicester have been, they, for me, have been covering up this fairy tale that Spurs have been on. And it's only now that you're seeing the media start to take notice of Spurs. And you've put a very good point out there now saying that, listen, that we're no longer under this radar. And it's going to be now how we are going to react, not just as fans, but as players, because this is going to be a very, very, very tough next couple of months. And I don't know how I'm going to survive it, so let alone how the players are going to get through it.
Yeah, I'm thinking the local pub might come in handy over the next few months just to get us through. I mean, it's...
Talk to Frank on the helpline.
I think I'm going to do more than Frank, mate. Wow, what a time. Lads, just to finish up on yesterday's game, I just want to go across the board again, and I want to get your thoughts on the top four and asking you to use your head rather than your heart, how you envisage the top four at the end of the season, based on what you've seen so far. Really, really tough, I know, but just to get the thoughts of the lads on that one. Let's go to John first of all.
Fourth, I think Leicester. Third, Man City. Second, Arsenal.
Who's top?
and Premier League champions, Tottenham Hotspur.
Oh my God, he's done it.
Right.
The thing is, you've got to go with it, because there's no point in us spoiling this little dream for ourselves before it's even come true or not. You know what I mean? Like Ricky keeps saying, he don't want to wake up, and I feel exactly the same. Let's just maybe, mate. Do you know anyone know how to put yourself into a coma? I'm up for it.
Do you know what I often do? When Spurs are winning in a tense game, about 10 minutes to go, I sometimes go and shut myself in a room just because I can't face watching it anymore.
Well, I'll tell you what, Andy, I'm exactly the same.
Yeah.
Right? When we played Arsenal at home last season, I couldn't get a ticket. Right, I was watching it with my eldest in our living room, and with about 10 minutes to go, I said, mate, I can't do this. I've got to go and have a shave. I went in and had a shave. Right, I heard him scream, nearly cut my face off. I've run back out the bathroom. I said, what's going on? He said, Kane scored 2-1. I said, right, I'm locking this door now. Don't come until it's full time. And when he come in and told me it's full time, mate, in the 2008 League Cup final, extra time, I spent that extra time putting my CDs and vinyls into alphabetical order. Not even joking. That's God's honest truth. I couldn't watch it.
Do you know what? And that's what I'm thinking. Maybe for the rest of this season now, we need... John, can you go and have a very long shave for us, mate? How are we going to do it? Jace, I'm going to ask you to be Mr. Realism for us now. Still 36 points to play for, mate. Is there a danger, do you think, that the more we get excited about this, the further the fall could be if it doesn't go right?
That's the Spurs way, isn't it? We're always worried like that. and you got to think there's a third of the season to go. And for me, the West Ham Arsenal week is a really big one. You know, you've certainly got to take 4 points or something, at least 4 points from those two games, whichever way round that is.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously the other big point in the term of the season will be if we actually go top at any stage, because, you know, at the end of the day, we're still second. So as well as we've done, Leicester have still actually done better than us over that same period of time, and we still need Leicester to make a slip up. You know, Ricky's right. If we won 12 straight games, we could be champions. But if Leicester won 12 straight games, they definitely would be champions. So you're still doing the chasing, and the big test for, like I say, for me will come if we ever hit top. But I wouldn't write City out of it yet. I still think there's so many good players in that squad that I can't see Manchester City just falling away to nothing. So
Are United out of it now, Jace, for you?
Well, certainly 10 points. I mean, I'd love Man United to take fourth spot and knock Woolwich out of it completely.
Yeah.
So, and possibly if West Ham can then get fifth and then Arsenal miss out on everything in Europa and everything, then be brilliant, wouldn't it?
What a season.
That'd be absolutely perfect for us to win it and find Arsenal not even qualify for the Europa. But no, seriously, yes, we can do it. I'm certainly not doom and gloom saying we got no chance. We've definitely got a chance to do it, but you still feel that. I still look at Manchester City and think there's still a danger to us. definitely. So I'd still at this stage, if I had to put my heart on anyone, I'd still probably favour City to win it. Although that looks ridiculous when they've just lost back-to-back games to the two other contenders.
It's because I think it goes back to what was being said on TV.
It's because they've done it, isn't it? They have done it.
Yeah.
So they can do it.
Absolutely. And when you've got players the quality of Aguero and Silva and company in your team, I think they'll still probably believe they can do it. Interestingly, with the bookies, City 7-1 fourth favourites now they've dropped to. Leicester 11-4 third favourites. Tottenham 5-2. Arsenal currently favourites 13-8. And it goes back to what I said earlier on in the show about their win yesterday. Yeah, it was a great win over Leicester. Fantastic victory. But surely our win being away from home against 11 men as opposed to the 10 men that Arsenal played against, surely that makes ours the more impressive victory. The press aren't seeing it like that over here at the moment, but maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's another good thing that we're the press are not talking about us in that sense either. It's going to be really interesting. Jace, I digress. Your top four?
Well, I'll stick my head out, and also the other thing is I don't want to be called deluded at the end of the season. Like, as soon as you say Spurs can win the league, everyone jumps on you. Oh, you're deluded. So I'll go City, Tottenham, Leicester, Arsenal.
City, Tottenham, Leicester, Arsenal. Interesting. And Mr. Sachs.
Well, I do want to just say that I think me and Jace were speaking about it off air that it's the difference if Spurs within these next 12 games hit top. I mean, I don't know what it's going to be like on social media. I don't think I'll be able to take it, but I think the thing is that what we need to consider here is that Spurs haven't been top at all this season. It's easier being the hunter than it is being hunted, if you see my point on that.
Yeah.
I just think if we hit top, will we be able to manage the pressure on us? Depending on how many games there is to go. And if you look at the running, as much as I would love to see Spurs win the league. And like, both John and Jay said, we've got a great chance to do it. I feel like I've said over the last few weeks, this is our best chance to ever do it. The fixtures on paper that we've got coming up, it's not the most kindest running. I mean, the Arsenal game at home, that North London derby is going to be something, isn't it? I mean, I don't think we're going to face Arsenal in a bigger North London derby. I don't know, dating back to when. It's just such a huge game. Maybe back to the 91 Cup final. I mean, I'm going as far back as that. What a massive North London derby that's going to be. Then we've still got Liverpool, Chelsea, United in those games. Still got West Ham. I mean, it is a very, very tough running. But at the end of the day, you have to play everyone twice over 38 games. I still want to go with my heart, and I still want to say, Spurs for me. If I'm judging the top four, I'm going to do it. I'm going to say Spurs are going to finish top. I'm going to say City are going to finish second. Arsenal are going to finish third. Leicester are going to finish fourth. But just on Leicester, you've got to say what a fantastic season they've had under Ranieri.
Yeah.
It's just the miracle he's done there. I mean, to be fair, they've been very, very lucky with injuries, but take nothing away from Mahrez, Vardy, Drinkwater. I mean, the team itself, they've been phenomenal. And wherever they finish, I mean, I still think they'll finish now in the top four. Wherever they finish first or fourth, I mean, what a season they've had. It's been incredible, but it's just typical Spurs luck that Leicester may be the team. I don't want to put the knockers on it to deny us our best opportunities to win the league. But if you said to me, if Spurs were to go on this formidable run, which I know sounds balmy and unrealistic, if we were to go and win the next 12 games, which sounds absolutely balmy and crazy, but we've won 7 in a row so far, 5 of them being in the league, then it's Spurs' league for me. I don't see Leicester winning 12 in a row. I still think for them, the closer it goes, the lack of experience, but you could argue the same against Spurs. But my argument is that Spurs have got more internationals that have experienced things on a bigger stage. I just think our squad of depth we've got now, we're never going to get a better opportunity. So I feel like I have to stick by my word and just say, Spurs, I have to, don't I?
Well, look, if it's anything like last week's prediction, Rick, I'm heading down to Ladbrokes, mate.
I tell you what, I still couldn't believe that. I only realised yesterday that I put 2-1 on. I just, honestly, if I honestly believe that my word was true, I'd go down and put the money on myself. Believe me.
What a day, lads! And I'm sure we could talk about it all night. Just fantastic. What's going to be really interesting for me is to see who gets the Manager of the Year prize. Surely it's got to be between Pochettino and Ranieri. It'd be really interesting to see who gets that one. You would think probably depend on who finishes higher in the league. Will Ranieri get it because, Leicester were favourites for relegation? Will he get it on that basis? Or will Pochettino get it because, well, it's just been an amazing season, isn't it? Amazing season. And long may it last. Lads, we've got to move on because otherwise we will be here all night. Great chat. Let us know what you think, guys, on social media about yesterday, at @E_Spurs and e-Spurs page on Facebook. So on to the subject of the next game, of course, which is completely different competition. European competition returns to Spurs, and we travel over to Italy, of course, on Thursday night against Fiorentina. Big game, and another set of circumstances for Pochettino to deal with. John, in terms of the team selection for this one, we've seen how he's rotated in the past. Do you expect to see the same again, or will we now see, because the competition's now progressed, will we see a full team go out, do you think?
I would hope that he plays a full team, and I believe he will, purely because I've got a sneaky feeling that Palace are going to put out half a team for the cup game on Sunday, and that gives us the opportunity to do the same. And I say that because Palace's slump has been so unbelievably brilliant to watch. To be fair, I hate Alan Pardew, and they had such a good start to the season. There was even Spurs fans saying, "Oh look, Palace have overtaken us. Southampton have overtaken us," and it's just one of them where West Ham as well. When you think it's actually they've gone on such a bad run. I think they're in the bottom half now, and I think it'll be one of them where, as much as Pardew being the sort of twat that he is, he'll want to win, but they've really he's got to think more about their potential safety in the Premier League. So I think that one looks after itself. It'll be half a team on Sunday, so therefore I would imagine we'd go full strength or near enough full strength in Florence. I'd imagine Davies and Trippier would come in possibly, but that'd be about it for me. And that's what I would do, and that's what I reckon Poch will do.
I agree. I think he will probably go with a lot stronger side. Jace, in terms of the players, they've now got to adjust as well, haven't they, to a different competition. Do you think it's going to be hard for them to do that, to concentrate now on a different competition circumstances?
No, I don't think so. I think that, players just go out and they play the game that's in front of them, and you want to win the game.
Yeah.
I think, we've almost got a free hit on this one because you got FA Cup at the weekend, so you're not having to risk players for a Premier League game or anything like that. And as John says, I think Palace will leave players out, and I think I could easily see Ryan Mason or Bentaleb coming in at the weekend. So, I'd go strong tomorrow night, try and do as much of the hard work tomorrow as we can, try and get the result there that you come back to White Hart Lane, and hopefully with a draw or even better from that, and you can maybe start thinking of the Premier League game after the second leg. But I'd certainly want us to go big, and I just don't understand why everyone's on such a downer about Europa League football. I understand that it's not the glamorous competition, but for me, I look down the list of teams in it, and I think Dortmund, Porto, Fiorentina, Seville, Marseille, Shakhtar, Napoli, Sporting Lisbon, Schalke. Why don't you want to win a competition with those clubs in it?
Yeah.
Why is it such a demeaning competition when you've got those? You've also now got Liverpool and Man United in it. So, I think you take it round by round, the priorities. I think if you can get round this round, the following one from that is sandwiched between games against Villa and Bournemouth. So again, you think, okay, that's not too bad on the back of a Europa. And then maybe when you get to the April run of Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea in the league, if you're still in it, then you might have to have serious worries. But, I really want us to go through and stay in it.
I agree completely, Jace. I think, it's only really been lessened by those clubs like, your Manchester Uniteds and only really because, to be fair, they've been spoiled, haven't they? They've been fed from a silver spoon for so long that now to have, God forbid they should have to play in any other tournament, with the likes of Spurs and with the likes of, Fiorentina and Napoli. God forbid they shouldn't be playing on a Tuesday or Wednesday night. And I think that's where it's all come from, isn't it? This top table of European football has been set in stone for so long that when they do have to drop out, it then becomes anything else is a nothing competition, isn't it? And I agree with you, Jace, completely. We should be going for everything. Any trophy, any opportunity to put some silverware in that cabinet is important.
I agree with. Sorry, guys. I agree with what you said, Jace. But the only thing is, I think purely from a Tottenham point of view, the reason why the focus might have changed is because, and I don't want to count my chickens, but if we're saying that our Champions League place through the Premier League is sewn up, then going for the Europa League is less of an issue. You know what I mean? Because purely at the start of the season, everyone's thinking that's probably the most realistic chance we've got of getting the Champions League spot. Maybe that's the only. I agree with you, but that's what people are thinking, mate.
John, if just to pick up on your point there, mate, if our place is sewn up in the league, does that not give us even more of a chance, an incentive to really give the Europa League even more of a go?
It would if we were 15 points clear at the top. But because we're still in the mix for the title, and the title is still a possibility, I think maybe that's why I would say no to your question, mate.
Yeah.
If we was, if we were 10 points clear in fourth, but 20 points off the top, then yeah, definitely. But I think the fact that we're, the focus has changed now from fourth to first. I think that's maybe what may change how people view the Europa League for the rest of this season.
All I take from that, John, is that, like I say, we've got a free round this one because there is no Premier League game at the weekend. And then as I say, you've got not such a bad target for the next round with the fixtures there are. And, by the time we come to April, who knows where we'll be. If we're still have a chance to win the league, then obviously you do. But say we lose the game at Arsenal and we drop points at West Ham, or we drop a silly one before that, we might think, OK, well, we got the fourth. We're now not going to win the league, but we can still win a trophy come the end of a season in the Europa League. So at least at this stage, try and stay in it for as long as you can, and then worry about it at later rounds.
Yeah, no, I'll make you right, mate. The perfect season for me now is if we win the Europa League, the FA Cup, and the league. No, I'm with you. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just thinking that's maybe the mindset about Europe has changed slightly because of how well we're doing in the league. Maybe.
Who wants to see Borussia Dortmund in a quarter-final at White Hart Lane? And who wants to see, I don't know, Porto or Napoli in a semi-final at White Hart Lane? Don't we have this phrase, glory, glory nights at Tottenham?
Yeah, no, of course
what
do,
glory,
mate.
glory nights they'd be. I just don't understand why everyone's on such a downer about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And picking up on what Jason mentioned there, it goes back to last season, doesn't it, where Pochettino played the weakened side against Fiorentina, putting all his eggs in one basket for the cup final, which we then went on and lost and ended up, with nothing. And I got to say, I know we all love European football, but for me, the 84, anyone who watches that, I defy anyone to watch that final and tell me that European football doesn't mean anything. It's so special still, and it's part of our history. First British club to win a European trophy, first club ever to win that trophy, the UEFA Cup. It's part of our history. And I get what you're saying, John, about prioritising also in terms of the top four, and where we are now, where we find ourselves now. It's a difficult one for Pochettino. Don't get me wrong. He's got to try and balance his team. So it's not easy.
I agree with Jay. I would love us to go all the way. I really would.
I wonder, John, if and Jason, I read on social media, Jason made a great point during the week that I picked up on, which was I wonder if people will be saying the same next season with Champions League football, with regard to that being an inconvenience to the league games. It's interesting, isn't it? Because the space between games will be the same. Thursday, Sunday is the same as playing Saturday, Wednesday. You get the same, I don't buy into this argument that people make about playing Thursday night football, because you still get the same amount of time between games as the Champions League teams. Will the people who are now, poo-pooing the idea of European football, and will they be doing the same next season? It's interesting, isn't it?
Well, the thing is, I think when we was in the Champions League, we've proved that when we're inconsistent, we can be. And when this season we've been a lot more consistent.
Yeah.
But, we said, it's 5 years today since we won in the San Siro with Crouchy scoring. Our next game in the league was away at Blackpool, and we lost 3-1.
Yeah.
Blackpool ended up going down. They weren't ever any danger of staying up, were they, Blackpool? So, it's I think it depends. We've got such a young team. They can play 60-odd games a season, I think, and they'll be all right. And this season I hope that they do manage to do that, because it means we'll go far in all of the competitions that we're in.
This squad and manager, for me, it's just too good to not achieve some form of greatness. And we've said that for us, the league is the dream. And that dream, it's still a possibility, but a lot of things have to happen for us to go on and actually achieve, the league itself. But for a cup, it's only 6 or 7 games, the FA Cup, and the Europa League itself now, we're in that stage where it's coming towards a closure, if you like. There's not too many far games away now. And for me personally, there would be nothing more satisfactory for me than to see this group of players and this manager win a trophy. And you know how I feel about the trophies. For me, competitions like the FA Cup, the Europa League, they should be taken as seriously for me as the league. That's why I'm hoping he's not going to make complete wholesale changes. I think we've come to a point now where we've shown that the squad we've got, it's so in depth, apart from maybe up front, where Kane, you've got options where maybe you can bring Chadley, NG at some point is going to come back. For me, we should be putting everything into the cup competitions, irregardless in terms of the league position at the moment, that we're still in the hunt for a league title. That's still a dream. For me, this squad, this manager, it's too good to not leave a landmark. And that's why, for me personally, we should be going all out for the cups, completely all out.
Go back the last 4 or 5 seasons when we've still been a top 4, top 5 chasing team. And then you look at our form after being knocked out of the Europa League. It's not like we've suddenly been knocked out and then won 7 of the next 7, is it? Our seasons have almost collapsed on the back of that, where our league form has then become really inconsistent despite being out of the Europa League. So, even from that point of view, I think, just because you're out of the Europa League, there's no guarantee that you're then suddenly going, we're now definitely going to go on and win the title because we've got rid of this nuisance competition. Winning becomes a habit. Win games, it becomes a habit.
But no, it's a great debate. And listen, at the end of the day, this is a great time. So who's to say we can't go on and, as Rick says there, and do the business, especially in these cup competitions. There's not far to go now. Not far to go.
Treble's still on, Andy. The treble is still on. Come on.
I'm going to have to get Ricky some Valium, I think. He's talking about the treble. But Rick, I mean, great times. And moving on to Saturday, of course, the cup game against Crystal Palace, FA Cup. So another competition, another set of circumstances. Would you echo the thoughts of, I think it was John who mentioned earlier that we might see a slightly weakened side in the FA Cup, or would you go stronger?
For me personally, again, I think John's hit the nail on the head. Palace have been on a horrendous run of form. I don't think any of us saw it coming. I looked at the table recently. They're in the bottom half all of a sudden, and suddenly they're looking over their shoulders now. And like John said, I think they are going to put out a less strong team than what we would have maybe expected them to put out when the draw was done originally. Because when I did see Palace, originally I was a little bit worried because Palace are a bit of a free spirit team when they play away from home. Good players, they got Zaha, Balassi, good pacey players on the counter-attack. Obviously Adebayor now you bring into that mix, playing against Spurs. I'm sure he knows what majority of Spurs fans think of him, so he'll be wanting to kind of shut us up, and that's obviously a worry in itself. But for us, beat Palace and we're in a quarter-final. So, and again, you look at it now and the way it does work, the FA Cup, it's, beat Palace, win the quarter-final, we're at Wembley. So, such a huge game for Spurs. For me, like I've said on numerous occasions, the cups are everything. We're in a position now where even if he was to put out the similar kind of team that he did at Leicester in the replay where he had Bentaleb playing, I wouldn't be too concerned about that. I mean, I'm guessing he is going to mix it up because players like Mason and Bentaleb, they do need minutes. And Pochettino has kept saying and echoing that it's a squad game. It's all about the squad. And if we're being honest, in the past we've been concerned about fringe players coming in. Listen, the majority of the fringe players that we were concerned about, the Kabuls, the Fazios, the Caboos, they're out the club now. We haven't got too many players left to scapegoat. So realistically, the players that he's going to bring in are of good quality, and majority of them have got international caps. So I don't think we should be too concerned if he is going to change it up, because all the players seem to they're chomping at the bit. So for me personally, wouldn't have a concern if he changed the team too much. I'm presuming that Vaughan would play ahead of Hugo purely because he's been favouring that in the cup competitions. And Vaughan, when he has played in the cup, has looked quite impressive this season. So why not give him a run out? It's all about the team, isn't it? And fingers crossed, beat Palace and, in the quarterfinals, win that. We're a game away from Wembley.
Right.
Happy days.
I'm not sure my heart can take all this. All this talk of Wembleys and top fours. And Jace, Crystal Palace on Saturday, is it the ideal opportunity to give Son a run up front?
Well, he got an opportunity yesterday, didn't he? I think we probably were surprised to see Son even start the game yesterday. But, Yeah, I think he'll more likely change the team around for the Palace game than Thursday night. And I think you'll see Bentaleb come in. I think Mason will come into the team as well. He'll need game time and minutes on the pitch. Vormer will play. So, yeah, I think the Palace game is the more likely one where you'll see a big squad rotation.
It's going to be a fascinating couple of days. Can't come quick enough, does it? It seems as if you want every game now to happen yesterday. Absolutely fantastic time to be a Spurs fan. Let's get the lads' thoughts as we finish up on the podcast tonight. The predictions for... Let's do both, shall we? Let's do Fiorentina and Palace. Rick, first up.
Okay, I'm going to go with a 1-1 in Florence. I do see Spurs scoring, but at the same time, I'm not too sure if we're going to keep a clean sheet. So I'll say a 1-1, and that'd be good to get the away goal. And then for Palace, at the weekend, the FA Cup, I'm going to go for 3-1 Spurs, fingers crossed.
Ooh, good. I was actually thinking 3-0, so not a million miles. I can see there being quite a few goals in that one.
I'll tell you what, my predictions haven't been too bad recently, so amen, please let them continue to be right.
John?
Well, I think the thing is with the Fiorentina game, if we do go full strength or close to, like I think we will, I think Fiorentina are in a position where they're doing well in the league. They're third, I think, at the moment. And they'll probably be thinking that maybe that's more important for them to stay where they are, for them to get a Champions League spot next season. So before seeing the team lineups, I would say I think we'll win 2-0 in Florence. And I've got a sneaky suspicion we're going to hammer Palace. I've got a feeling it's going to be, I don't know, 4-1 on Sunday. 4-1.
This isn't like your 6-1 last week, is it? Love the optimism, mate. Love it. And Jace?
I think, like Rick, I'm going 1-1 on Thursday night. I think it is a tough game for us. And I think I'll go for us to beat Palace, but without seeing the two sides and who's playing, it's almost impossible to try and pick a scoreline. But I do fear that Adebayor will score.
Just written,
it's just a certainty to score, isn't he? And then we'll get that famous salute in front of the away supporters with that big beaming smile of his, whilst the whole crowd want to be chucking bottles at him.
Yeah, it's Spursy is the word. It's just one blessing is that Sherwood's not there to share the salute. But yeah.
Well, I'm going to go and Google Juju now, so we'll be all right.
Listen, I think it's going to be a fantastic couple of days, isn't it? Couple of games, and as fans, we haven't been in this position before either, have we? In terms of all three competitions that we're currently still in, of having progressed so far in all of them at one time. So can we cope with the pressure, let alone the players? Brilliant stuff, lads, as always. Don't forget, guys, get in touch with us. Let us know what you think on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. We're on the lot. Let us know what you think. All of the guys that you've been listening tonight, their Twitter accounts are sent out when we advertise the podcast on Twitter. So get in touch with the guys, give them a follow, let them know what you think of what they've said tonight. If you agree, disagree, or indifferent, give them a shout. We really appreciate you all listening, guys. We'll be back after the Crystal Palace game at the weekend. Don't forget, look out for our Extra Time show up on Thursday. And from Jason, John, Ricky and myself, have a great week. I'm sure you will. And as always, come on you Spurs.
Waking and singing.